been 2 months since the Jimmy Butler era came to an end in Minnesota. Since then, the Timberwolves have also fired Tom Thibodeau and named Ryan Saunders, the son of Flip Saunders, as the interim head coach. It remains to be seen whether Saunders is the long-term answer. After all, he is only 32 years old, and it is a bit strange to think that Taj Gibson is older. Regardless, in this video, I want to look at Minnesota's future and see exactly whether or not they can fulfill their potential. If so, how do they eventually get there, and what are the important pieces moving forward? Before we continue, I have to thank SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. If you're thinking about going to see a game anytime soon, or you're thinking about buying a ticket for your friends and family as a gift, you should use SeatGeek, which is the best way to get tickets to not just sporting events, but also concerts and stand-up comedy shows, whatever you're interested in. SeatGeek is an app that you can download on your phone. It collects information from different ticket selling websites. It allows you to compare prices so you know you always get the best deal possible for the exact seat you're going to buy. My favorite feature of the SeatGeek app, which I talk about all the time, is that it allows you to preview the seats before you buy it. So you know exactly what your view and vantage point will be like before you actually have to buy the ticket itself. So if that sounds interesting to you, download SeatGeek right now. You can use my promo code MDJ for $20 off of your first purchase. Minnesota. I suppose we can start with Andrew Wiggins. He's not good. Surprise. So about a week ago, I was sitting on my couch right over there, and I got a notification on my phone, and it read, Andrew Wiggins has 40 points and 10 rebounds to lead the Minnesota Timberwolves over the OKC Thunder. And I looked at that and I was like, wow, that's impressive. So I went and I watched that entire game, paying attention mostly to Andrew Wiggins to see exactly how he had his good game. And I don't remember the last time I watched somebody score 40 points and actually ended up feeling worse about him as a player and his future than I did before watching that 40-point game. And I'll explain why. First of all, he attempted 18 free throws this game, which is just a huge anomaly because he averages 4 free throw attempts per game. I also saw Andrew Wiggins screw up all the basketball fundamentals, that stuff that doesn't even show up on the box score that he gets wrong. Things such as, learning how to box out. And on top of all of that, the shots that he made in this game, the 11 shots that he made out of the 24 that he attempted, these were precisely the ones that you don't want him to take because they are objectively awful shots. The fact that he happened to make a couple more than usual doesn't solve the fact that he shoots 40% from the field and around 30% from mid-range. And then I see that he's grabbed 10 boards, 10 rebounds, which is nice, but Andrew Wiggins also happens to have a 6.6 rebounding percentage for his career. 6.6%. That is god-awful. In fact, courtesy of Dan Devine of The Ringer, Wiggins ranks in the bottom 10 in rebounding percentage out of all players 6'8" or above in the shot clock era. He's got the same rebounding percentage as Jalen Rose. Yikes. Except unlike Jalen Rose, Wiggins is a top-tier athlete with a 40-inch vertical. There's just absolutely no excuse for that shit. Anyways, I'm not going to spend that much time on Andrew Wiggins. If you want to hear more about them, I'm sure all the other basketball channels have made plenty of videos about Wiggins. You can go watch them if you want to hear more people talk shit about him and why he's such an awful player. Let's move on to a couple of bright spots for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Derrick Rose is having a resurgent year of sorts. He's been amazing. Not second in All-Star voting. Amazing. I repeat, not this amazing, but he's been great. The three-point shooting is actually one of the most impressive things I've seen in recent memory because this guy shot below 30% from three every season for the past 5 seasons, and all of a sudden, 46%. Granted, 46% is not sustainable, but even if he maintains high 30s, that's still pretty amazing. So if anything, I do have to give Derrick Rose credit because there's no way you can make that level of improvements without putting in a ridiculous amount of work in the gym during the offseason. Robert Covington remains one of my favorite players in the league, and he's done precisely what teams expect him to, which is shoot a lot of threes and play insane lockdown defense. It is almost impossible to overstate how much Robert Covington has done for Minnesota's defense in the short amount of time he's been there already. And then Josh Okogie, the 20th pick, who's gotten some big rotation minutes, kind of a rookie that nobody outside of Minnesota really cared about or really cared to talk about. First off, he's been a surprisingly good defender for a rookie, and even though the shot isn't there, he's already shown that he can at least make them on occasion. And with more minutes, you're going to get more reps. And Okogie looks like he's going to be a good part of the rotation for the future. Dario Saric has taken somewhat of a backseat since being traded. He's only playing 23 minutes per game in Minnesota, which I think most people would agree is lower than he deserves. So my understanding as to why Dario Saric isn't playing as much is two reasons. Number one, the chemistry is not there. And unlike Robert Covington, who you can just plug and play and fit into any team, Saric has a more unique play style where you have to get used to his cuts, to his passes, and to his herky-jerky moves. And then number two, the second reason, is that pairing Saric with Towns is just not great defensively. The Timberwolves brought in Gibson specifically to help Towns defensively, and the defensive metrics haven't even shown that to pan out that well. So if Gibson and Towns is still iffy defensively, you can just imagine what Saric and Towns together is like. Not to say that they can improve, but if you got chemistry issues on top of both players having some issues defensively, that's not a good recipe. Let's look ahead at the Timberwolves' future in terms of contracts. Cat, Wiggins, and Rocco are locked up long-term. Yeah, Andrew Wiggins, that's a tough one. $30 million per year for a poor man's Rudy Gay. I wouldn't be surprised if the Timberwolves try to move Gorgie Jane either next season or the season after that, if they need to clear more space. Josh Okogie, like mentioned, is a rookie, and I do see him being a key part of this rotation in the upcoming years. Rose is on a one-year contract, but given his success this season, I don't imagine him wanting to play anywhere else. At least I don't think he should even seriously consider playing anywhere else. And I don't see any reason why the Timberwolves don't want to keep him. The thing I would pay attention to in terms of the 2019 offseason is whether or not they re-sign Taj Gibson. Because if they don't, I imagine that would promote Saric to the starting lineup. But again, you'd have to ask, can the defense hold up? A lot of this comes down to, of course, Karl-Anthony Towns. I think the Jimmy Butler era in a way exposed both a strength and weakness in Towns. The strength is that Towns' supposed decline was in large part because he was playing second fiddle. But the moment Butler left, Towns was right back, or is right back, I should say, to putting up big numbers. The weakness is that Towns doesn't seem like he knows how to play alongside stars yet. And it's okay, he's only 22 years old. There's plenty of time. I don't have much concern about Towns offensively. He could improve his passing, especially as he's going to see more and more double teams in the future. But the thing that's going to carry the Timberwolves is defense. From what I've seen, he has been a little bit better since the Butler trade. I don't know if that's because of Butler not being there, or maybe Covington being there, or maybe a combination of both. But either way, as we all agree, Towns has the physical skill set to be a good defender. You guys know that I generally dislike talking about players' mentality or that sort of sports talk showy language where it's like, oh, this athlete doesn't want it enough. He doesn't want it in the big moment. So I generally don't like talking about that. But there's also been enough articles and news and rumors coming out of the Timberwolves locker room, and also some on-the-court evidence that points to, well, why is Towns not as physical some games as he probably should be? And why is there sometimes a tendency for other centers to bully him around? I personally don't know what the reasons are, but to me, whatever it is, that's what's holding Karl-Anthony Towns back from being in the conversation of the best center in the NBA. This season, the Timberwolves look like they could still make a push for a lower seed in the Western Conference playoffs. Now, even if they make it, I don't expect them to go anywhere past the first round. And if we take a step back a little bit further, still, it is obvious to me that the Timberwolves are at least 1 to 2 major pieces away from being a legitimate contender. But anyways, those are my somewhat unstructured thoughts on the Minnesota Timberwolves. If you have any thoughts, leave them down in the comment section below. Please be nice in the comment section. And I will see you next time with another video. Bye-bye.